Okay, one simple, important piece about healing one's anxiety would be returning to your body, getting back into your physical body and connecting more fully with it. One of the things that we see in terms of treating PTSD, anxiety, over and over again, is this tendency to separate from one's own being. What do I mean by that? Well, I don't mean some airy-fairy floating above your body kind of experience where you're out of body. Rather, there's a tendency when you're under the things that tend to cause or trigger anxiety, trauma, stress, fearful situations, if it's something like PTSD. In those circumstances, you want to cope, and you often cope by getting away from them to the extent that you can, even though you're still physically present to these particular things that are happening. So, almost all of the diagnoses along these lines have part of the DSM criteria is this sense of depersonalization, derealization, separation, or re-experiencing things that are not happening, where you're not present to what's going on right now. So all of these things are basically a form of dissociation. What is dissociation? Dissociation is really just a mental health term that refers to this coping mechanism of kind of separating from parts of yourself. And I say parts because part of you is still present. Let me give you a very benign example. You're sitting in history class. The professor is droning on and on about the Civil War and the things leading up to it and the events therein, and you check out. You're on the beach, you're in Waikiki, sipping that margarita on the rocks with extra salt, while reading this scintillating novel, watching the surf with the surfer and the lovely sunset, etc. Are you fully present to all the events that are happening in history? No. And you're gonna find that out when you're on the test, when you're taking the test. Maybe your recall is not as good because you weren't fully present. Same thing can happen with trauma more intensively. So when we're experiencing trauma or things that might induce fear, anxiety, we tend to want to get away from them. So while we don't necessarily physically leave our bodies, we're less present in them. So part of the healing process revolves on returning to your physical body and reconnecting with it in a particular kind of way, in this loving, compassionate kind of way, where you are specifically trying to identify and listen to whatever message it is that your body is giving you through said symptoms of anxiety. So here's an example from my own personal life. I tend to experience anxiety, and my anxiety tends to manifest in my arms when it's at its most intense. Now, I've explored this idea that this is perhaps a bit symbolic. Given my experiences of the past couple years, I'm not going to get into those, but what I will say is I get these sensations in my arms that are intense, almost like pressure, adrenaline racing through my arms, where I almost want to jump out of my skin. So what I have been doing lately is trying to remain present to these sensations, and I also ask the question, okay, what's the point? And how can I deal with this specifically? For the past probably couple years, I've been getting back into the gym, and I lift. I do a lot of arm work. What I happen to notice probably in the past month or so is I sat down and asked myself the question, when is the last time I had that crazy racing anxiety in my arms where I just want to jump out of my skin? And it's been a while. Now, am I fully healed from this? No, I'm sure not. I'm still on a journey. But part of that journey and the symptoms themselves have spoken to me and saying, here's what you need to pay attention to on lots of different levels. How many different levels can we pay attention to this? Well, the symbolic, arm yourself, Jen. Okay. Point noted. additionally, get your arms stronger. So that's what I'm doing. And as my arms have become strengthened, I'm finding that I have that experience in my arms less. Just a little anecdotal evidence, but I do see this correlation frequently with patients. There's a lot of patients come into my office and I ask them where they experience their anxiety, what part of your body. That's typically important, homeopathically speaking, in terms of finding a remedy that will help someone. But the other piece is, some of the time they can't tell me. That's also a clue to me that there's less connection to the physical body, less connection to being in their bodies. And so part of that healing process is we have to return to the physical body and reconnect on lots of levels. And there are all sorts of ways to do this. I mean, yoga gets us back into our bodies, exercise, lifting, as I mentioned. But even on other levels, connecting to the sensuality of living and living in the kind of space that is passionate and fully experiencing things. So when I eat, eating in such a way where I'm really truly experiencing and savoring the strawberry and the seeds that are present on the outside of the skin of the strawberry, along with the sugary taste of the overripe red succulent strawberry that squirts juice in my mouth. I mean, food is sensuous. Reconnecting with our sexuality and the beauty of connecting intimately with another person on that level. I mean, all of these components of living are important in terms of the healing process. And there are reasons why when we feel depressed or we feel anxious, we're taken away from these things and don't experience them as deeply. And that's a tragedy. But also they are healing for us to be more fully present in our bodies. And like I said, the path to healing involves listening to those various symptoms from different parts of our bodies. So I listen to my arms. Arms are telling me a lot these days, and they're speaking less these days in terms of anxiety. So there you have it, just a little anecdotal piece for you. I would love to hear your stories along these lines. If you've had the same kind of experience where your anxiety manifests in a particular part of your body, tell me about it and what's been your path to healing. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, I love subscriptions. I love you helping get the word out there about the channel, sharing, likes, comments, etc. Thumbs up on that one. So we'll chat next time. Thanks for tuning in.